Well, welcome. I'm so glad you're here with me today, Eric. Today, we're talking about volunteering and the impact it can have on your job search. I'd like to just take a moment and introduce you to the audience. Eric is a Economy of One graduate, and he has shown that this process really works. Eric, you want to just talk for a moment?
There's my book. There's the proof right there. I've had a 30-year career in marketing communications
Mhm.
and a marketing director for a lot of different employers over the years. Spent a lot of time doing email campaigns. Grew up with digital as digital became a thing. I've got the blend of traditional and digital marketing in my background, but the Economy of One program really helped me identify what I'm really passionate about.
Mhm.
And that is working with innovators like inventors, entrepreneurs, startups, and small businesses.
Right.
I love launching new products and new concepts into the marketplace. That's really me in a nutshell. The Economy of One program introduced me to the idea of looking at volunteerism as a way to build your network, sharpen your skills, and so forth. And so I think that's what we're here to talk about today.
Yeah, and I had a chance to kind of float this idea with a newly formed Economy of One group the other day. And one of the audience members really pushed back hard and asked a really good question that I wanted to ask you. She is an accountant by nature. And she said, Elizabeth, I just have a very hard time committing to anything that I cannot predict and anything that doesn't have an assured outcome. She said, how do I deal with the issue of not knowing up front what's going to happen, and how do I overcome uncertainty to actually engage with volunteering when I don't know what's going to happen? How might you respond to something like that question?
Well, firstly, I would say number one, focus on volunteering with organizations that you really are passionate about genuinely. You can't fake it. As long as you've got the passion, I think you'll be able to dive in and help the effort in a meaningful way. So that would be the first thing. And then number two, always keep in mind that you're a volunteer. You're not committing yourself to 40 hours a week.
You're
If you're
not getting
retired,
married.
yeah, that's right. It's not a forever thing. Maybe don't overthink it. If you're worried about, do you really have the right skills to help this organization? Well, maybe you don't, but you can get on a committee and you can learn those skills, from somebody that does know.
Huge
Yeah.
advantage to that, Eric. That's a great point. So, when you've engaged with volunteering as a method to help you develop reliable income, how do you manage expectations, especially at the beginning?
Well, I think you need to be transparent about what your skills are and how you think they can benefit the organization. Recently, I helped launch a new nonprofit called Mo Hives KC, and
Uh-huh.
I wore my T-shirt so we could talk about it
Oh,
today.
right.
I do want to promote them a little bit, but basically, it's an urban bee farm effort to put these urban bee farms on vacant urban property to make that property more productive, to pollinate local food gardens, and to beautify the community, educate the community on beekeeping and all the neat stuff around science and bee commerce and the different things that the community can learn from. It's really rejuvenating urban neighborhoods, with bees of all things. So
Right? That's very cool.
yeah, so I guess I didn't finish, got too much into promoting them, but they reached out to me to help them define what their logo should be.
Mhm.
And they had, an iteration from another group that they were inspired by, but it just wasn't communicating anything about Kansas City. I'm not a graphic artist by trainings, and I know that, but I did provide some direction. And ultimately, we wrote a creative brief to guide real graphic designers, and they came up with this. And I'm content with it. I don't know that it's the end all, but it's got the cityscape, it's got the mow, and of course the bee, and the little drop of honey. And so, we're okay with that for now. That's a good start. But they were happy with what I helped them with, and then they said, well, I said, you need a website, you need a domain, you need hosting. Let me set that up for you. And so I guess I was just kind of guiding. It was a little different because it was not a pre-existing organization that I was coming into. I was helping launch this thing.
Mhm.
And so for an existing organization, you have to ask them what their expectations are.
Right. And you have to make sure it's a good match.
That's right. Yeah, just like with an employer, if it's not a good match, walk away. There's only so much time.
But it's worked out for you. It really has.
It
And
has.
I'm curious, what really surprised you about the process of engagement here as you moved along and saw the relationship blossom and the work produce?
That this surprised me, how valued I felt.
That's cool.
In an employer relationship, they're paying you, so you've got to deliver, and you've got this exchange. But when you're volunteering, they're so appreciative of what you offer, and I really got a self-esteem boost out of that.
Mhm,
And then, they asked me to do more and more, and then they realized, okay, we're asking Eric to do a heck of a lot. We probably should be paying him.
mhm.
So I was agreeable to that. But they had already put me on the board, and so there was a little bit of a conflict there. So they actually created what they call a community advisory board
Mhm.
position that would allow me to still be able to be compensated. Me and some other people that had similar roles that needed to be compensated.
And if I remember correctly, when you talked to me about this, one thing that you had done is really participated in helping to define the scope of the marketing plan, the scope of costs typically associated with fulfilling the different projects that were needed in relation to the plan.
That's
And
correct.
so when it came to finding the right vendor and a trusted person, you naturally were in position to speak to the fact you would love to work with them on that.
That's correct. The compensation from that organization has developed and is moving forward. And beyond that, the founder of the organization is a pediatrician in Prairie Village. And she said, well, Eric, you've done such a great job with Mo Hives. I'd love to see what you could do with our business. We need some more awareness of this after hours capability that we have and the virtual visits capability that we've developed because of COVID. Can you help us with a campaign for that? And I said, absolutely. So now I've got a client out of that relationship. So
That's wonderful. So, what would you say to job seekers who are considering volunteering? What was the most important takeaway in your mind from the experience?
I guess the most important takeaway would be it's about relationships, really. If you're between jobs or whatever, it's really easy just to stay in your home and not do anything and not meet other people. And really, you need to be out there meeting people, sharpening your interpersonal skills, developing new relationships. We all struggle to establish new friendships, or some. Well, I do, getting out there and feeling valued by others, and you already have some commonality because you believe in this cause, that you can build on that. You get out there and work side by side with people, even if you're just clearing brush from property.
Right?
eh, they respect the fact that you're a hard worker, and you're there not getting paid. I think that's the most important thing I got from it.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I would say too that for people who question, why do I do this? When I need a job, why do I go volunteer? Economy of one's very clear. We recommend 70% of your time needs to be spent looking for a job, and 30% at least should be spent volunteering, because that 30% bridge is going to connect you to new relationships, like you said. And, it's hard to get hit when you're not playing in the traffic. Volunteering is a wonderful way to go play in the traffic and put yourself out there and connect with new people. And in my opinion, invite the divine to partner with you to start making those connections that create true opportunity for both parties. And volunteering is that excellent bridge to get active, get out, and get confirmation on the value of your skills, which, unless you let that little light shine, it's it's hidden. And we need to see that those skills in action to feel our value. And you've done a great job with that, with what you've done with Mohive. That is so great. I appreciate so much you sharing that story today, Eric. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah.